Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. I hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. And with so many Rostermania questions being raised after the Major 2 in Boston, will OpTic decide to pull the trigger and make a move? iLLeY and Huke both had a pretty difficult time there at Major 2. Many thoughts have been raised. Should they try and get pred for Huke? But if they can't get pred, is there another decent option on the table? Crimsix reckons Asim would be a hands-down upgrade to this team that they should try and get as soon as they possibly can. Very much enjoy your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I'd greatly appreciate it. Plenty to discuss today. Firstly, unfortunately, got to congratulate aBeZy for taking the crown of the Breaking Point Fantasy. My team, basically the way this works in terms of, when I do the announcement, when it's all confirmed for Stage 3, I'll try and discuss in more detail how the scoring works. But especially when it comes to the Major, it's very important where the players place in the tournament. That actually has quite a big weighting. I probably should have thought about that a bit more when I chose my team, which isn't even on the screen anymore because my boys got absolutely fried this weekend. But aBeZy had Drazah and Kenny, and well, he did very well off that. So it was aBeZy, Ben Naseem who did it again, and then Dr. Doug Leap here in third. So congratulations to everyone on this one, and congratulations to the actual winners as well, whatever team actually won the Breaker Boy competition. And we'll discuss in a second one more thing here from Doug Leap, because yeah, he has some interesting thoughts on which teams are going to have a difficult time here at Major 3. And OpTic do not have an easy qualifying schedule, as we shall see. Also, a note here on Panda. I'm not exactly sure what the situation is with the Rokkr Academy that Panda and GoDirect were on at this most recent Challengers events, but I guess he's been kind of talking to other teams, and they've been telling him that he's basically too old to play. And it doesn't make much sense to me, because Panda's been an absolute dominant force as an AR in Challengers the last couple of years. He's also recently a father, right? So it definitely does seem unfair to Panda, whoever's potentially telling him this, right? And as Panda says, everyone's on the hunt for a young gun, but most teams lack the leadership to help them become a Simp, aBeZy, or a Simp. It always confuses me, which is probably a fair point as well, right? A lot of teams are looking for the next, top tier Call of Duty pro player, but they need some players to actually help them get to that point, as Panda is suggesting. And even as Doug obviously saying this sarcastically, he's also 25, which means he can't play at the highest level either, which obviously Doug's joking around there, because there's plenty of players that are 25 and beyond that have still played at a very high level in the last couple of years. So hopefully everything works out for Panda. But we've got to dive into this OpTic situation then. So they came top 4 at the Major, a relatively, going into the tourney. If you'd have asked me where I predicted OpTic to place, I think I would have said 4th. I think I said that before the tournament, or at least in that ballpark. I think Ben Naseem said in a video he would have said top 6. So, they either performed at or slightly above expectations. They probably should have beaten Thieves again in the losers semi-final game. That would have got them top 3. Whether they'd have beaten Rokkr, given the fact that they got bodied by them. I feel like generally the way that Rokkr play is kind of a hard counter to OpTic in a sense. Thieves, it doesn't seem it's quite the same way, but Rokkr are pretty methodical, right? They play together as a team. They don't play incredibly fast. It's actually a relatively slow-paced team, Rokkr, and I think even Bance said that to me in an interview, that the way they play in scrims now is how they want to play in matches, i.e. slower, taking their time a little bit more, whereas often in scrims, teams play at a very fast pace, almost like they're playing 8s at times, and it means that when you get to the matches, some teams get significantly better from scrims, some teams get significantly worse. That's a whole translation from scrims thing. And Bance says that in scrims they now do worse than they did before, but they play much better in matches because they're better prepared. And I feel like that pace can just catch OpTic so off guard, right? If OpTic are just going to go rogue again and again, Rokkr just can body them, right? And that's basically what happened here. So I don't know if OpTic had beaten Thieves, I don't know if they'd have beaten Rokkr again, but regardless, OpTic top 4, probably could have got top 3 if they didn't choke that series up against the Los Angeles Thieves in that losers semi-final. But given the result that OpTic had, should any changes be made? I do think it's a little bit early to blow this team up. If they underperform at their home Major, then I think that it's probably time to call it a day. But if there are upgrades available, if you can get pred right now for a certain amount of money, I think you just get pred right now, to be perfectly honest with you, because they're probably going to do it anyway. And, right now, FaZe are looking incredibly good. Obviously, Los Angeles Thieves looking very good as well. Can OpTic get the consistency to get to the point? OpTic have the talent to win events. There's absolutely no question about it. Will they have the consistency with their current playstyle over the course of an entire weekend to win a Major? It's not quite going to take a miracle, but it's going to take a lot of things going their way for them to win. And I think we saw that with some of the plays that are made this weekend, and a lot of criticism being leveled at their individuals for not only, their numbers, let's just say, but also for the plays they actually made during the weekend. Now, Shotzzy was on the, receiving end of a lot of this criticism, and I think understandably so for at least one or two specific moments, and that was being made clear on the flank last night. So a lot of content in this flank, there's no doubt, a phenomenal episode, but I just wanted to show a little snippet here from Crimsix where he discusses the play that Shotzzy made, saying that when he was teamed with Shotzzy back in the day in Modern Warfare, Shotzzy would never have made a play like that. Crim had him more disciplined. Crim had him believing that he wasn't just this absolute messiah player. And this I do think can be a problem with OpTic, right? You join OpTic, you get all the gas from the OpTic fans. And obviously, Shotzzy and Dashy, phenomenal players. They get good gas for good reason. But, you know, because you're part of OpTic, you maybe start to believe you're, you know, God's gift to Call of Duty, right? I don't always have your plays and ability and stuff like this criticized in the way that you might on a different organization. And Crim is saying, look, Shotzzy wouldn't have made that play when he was teaming with him. Now he is. Like, Shotzi's got to actually slow down, figure it out, and try and play with his team. Because apparently, Shotzzy is the one making these calls on the fly at the moment, whereas what they need in terms of a coordinator is a guy like Asim.
They got him in a spawn trap right here. You see this?
Right here, look.
Trap right here. And instead of just holding the stairs, he just kind of pushes through to the spawn. He dies.
Rambo was watching, like, yo, Ant, hold the stairs. Wait, Ant, no. Oh, I'm going bowling.
They kill him. Dashy gets put in a bad position where he's getting pinched. Dies.
Oh my
all because
God.
of that play. That's why they lost.
You know what Ant has deadass got to do? This
also,
might seem crazy. And if you're listening to this, bro, you're not that guy anymore. Okay, prove it. Prove it. Okay, like,
are you
like,
trying
dude,
to motivate him, Porter? Are you trying to motivate him?
I'm saying I see that clip, right? And I could probably search his mentions on Twitter and just see nothing but ultimate gas. He's playing like he's literally getting gassed up in every single moment, where it's like, bro, like in MW, I would have never, when I teamed with him, like when he was like literally God's gift, he would have never done that play. He would have never even thought to do that play. So I'm like sitting there like, dude, why the do you think you can do whatever, you know, you want?
This guy is not who he was. He's just not, bro. He was, honestly, in my opinion, not a good pickup for this team. He was bottom 10 on the Guerrillas, and I hate it. I actually despise all of y'all who made the argument, well, he's on OpTic now. They're a better team. He's going to be way better. This guy's not that great.
Yo, OpTic, if you're listening, get
because you're a
Asim.
full-time streamer and you want to get some
I
primes,
agree,
but the
Chris.
reality here is this team is
Asim.
not as good as you think they are.
If
You get
reswap
Asim, you make Ender
Car for
play
Asim,
better.
This team is going to be so much better because
You
it
keep
frees
Ant
up-
in check.
It frees up Ant to do what he wants to do on the Mac because Asim is going to fill in those gaps and do all the dirty work. It's going to make Ender way better because
He doesn't have to.
doing.
He doesn't have to do
Bro,
half of the things he's doing.
He's gonna run bomb for them and search.
He's
so
literally going to
anything-
be baiting for Shotzzy, and he's going to not only keep him in check, but he's going to, like, Asim's one of those players that he's a coordinator, you know? Like, he's going to coordinate a team play or a team hold or something like that, which is what they absolutely need.
Wait, hold on. Ant does that for them right now. You know that?
Yeah, but I don't think it's
Ant does?
Yeah, wait, he's gotten a lot better at it. But the thing is, in that, like, the way he plays, it's so hard for him to play that way and do it at the same time. Like,
well, that explains everything, dude.
Now, this has been a talking point since Cold War, right? I remember during that Cold War season, people said, drop Envoy, get Asim into the team. Now, you know, and I'm not exactly sure that was the way to go at the time, but I think that now Asim could be a phenomenal player for this OpTic team, and I've thought it for some time, really. Asim brings so much to the team outside of just his ability and his gameplay, but also leadership and coordination was, I thought, a nice words that they used there on the flank episodes. And look, he's on London. London's just chalked. It's an absolute disaster over there. I mean, they just can't build a good roster to save their lives over that organization, unfortunately. And he's been undoubtedly their standout player of the first part of the season here. Yes, there's an argument that Asim falls off mid-year, but do you need Asim to drop 1.1s when he's playing with Shotzzy as an SMG line? Probably not. And if you can, you're almost going to win guaranteed. So what do you guys think about bringing Asim into the roster? I think, honestly, it does free up certain situations, right? Look, Huke is a solid player. I don't think that he's absolutely terrible, as X is implying. I thought it was funny from X, really, because, I mean, he did team with Huke a few years ago, and now he's just calling him kind of a burger. But, you know, he's probably right that Huke isn't the player that he was, and this tournament as well, he didn't seem quite where they need to be. Now, there's the argument as well that iLLeY went from online to LAN and definitely didn't really show up. Dashy was betting them out hard in certain situations, and, you know, people think they're nitpicking a bit, and I think I can understand why to a certain extent, just because, you know, a couple of plays go differently and they win that game against Thieves. But honestly, the devil is almost always in the details, and those couple of plays are important, and when you've seen plays made like that have gone against OpTic for several weeks at this point, you're thinking, well, you know, can they really do it? Especially when they also got 3-0'd by Rokkr, right? If they had have got beaten Game 5, Round 11 by Rokkr and lost in that way to Thieves, then I would be thinking a little bit differently about this OpTic team, rather than seeing them get bodied by Rokkr does make me wonder whether this team of 4 really has what it takes. And I guess we'll see over the coming weeks, because they don't have an easy schedule at all. So this is the thing for OpTic. I don't imagine they want to make a change now. Pred, we don't think is gettable now, at least, because Surge said they're not making any changes. We which is also probably not a good idea, to be honest. But it does mean that Asim is maybe gettable from London and also could be a good option. So these are the numbers specifically at Major 2 in the 4 matches they played against Thieves, Rokkr, Boston, and Los Angeles Thieves. Obviously, you know, Dashy was their best player. Shotzzy, I think, was right behind him as their second best player. And okay, yeah, maybe Shotzzy made that questionable play in that control game that was very influential. But on the whole, Shotzzy, you know, was doing his thing for most of the time. Look at the kills per 10 minutes numbers here, though. Dashy had 24 per 10. Shotzzy almost had 24 per 10 as well. iLLeY and Huke had 18, 19 respectively, with a 0.82 KD and hardpoint. In Search and Destroy, iLLeY actually had the second best numbers to Dashy, but in terms of first blood rates, again, there wasn't that much going on. And then in control, it was Shotzzy who was actually statistically the best, but again, iLLeY and Huke had a pretty hard time. They were 1 in 3 in control the weekend, which was certainly their worst game mode. They played pretty much even across the board in the other 2. So what do these numbers show in terms of whether a change needs to be made? I think there's an argument to say that Huke and Shotzzy as an SMG lineup just aren't really going to cut it compared to the opposition. Firstly, because Huke, I don't think, can slay it like he used to be able to slay it with Shotzzy, which I believe is necessary in part, but also just the way they play as a duo. Like, we know that Huke has always had issues start his career with making the best decisions at the optimal time, and in this game nowadays that we're currently playing, the skill gap is not in terms of gun skill, it's not in terms of mechanics, it's largely in terms of decision making and team play, right? Because, like, let's say we're playing Advanced Warfare again. Huke was unbelievable at that game, and maybe he's not the prime Huke that he was a few years ago, but if we were playing a game that was predominantly gun skill or movement or mechanics, this team would arguably be the best team in the game. But nowadays we play a game where the skill gap in terms of shooting and mechanics is relatively small, and the skill gap therefore transitions into making good decisions on the map and positioning yourself well, looking the right direction, going the right way at the right time, like making the right call, because killing people is pretty easy. It's those decisions that make the difference in the tide of the game. And therefore, OpTic, with that side of things, are going to struggle a fair bit. Now, can Asim be the solution they need? I think there's a very good argument to say yes, the guys on the flank seem to agree, but look, I think ideally you probably want Pred in that role just because upgrade the firepower and figure the other problems out later. But if you can get Asim, maybe that's also a good candidate as well. So tweet your thoughts on that in the comment section below. The difficulty that OpTic have is that their run into Major 3, that of course they have to start in winners, at least in a decent position because it's their home major, they have a very difficult run. So these are their matches. This is an analysis of the strength of schedule of a kind of easier to harder. This was one that Doug Lee put together. This is one that Jacob Hale put together. But as you guys can see here, these are the matches the teams play. The hardest selection is like OpTic and Vegas pretty much. So OpTic play LA Guerrillas first round, which is, you know, the easiest one they have really. Then they play Toronto, then Minnesota, then New York Subliners, then FaZe. So that is a very tough set of opposition. You look at FaZes, for example, or Los Angeles Guerrillas, like FaZes, they play Florida, Thieves, London, Vegas, and Texas, which is, you know, also not exactly a walk in the park, but it's way easier than what OpTic have to deal with. So yeah, what do you guys think about this? Because they have some problems to solve as a team, and they have a very tricky schedule. Now, last time online, they went 4-1 again at a tricky schedule. So the tricky schedule before, they've got a tricky schedule again, and, you know, obviously it worked out for them before they went 4-1 with the top seeds. So we'll see if they do that again, but this time it's not exactly easy for them. And, I mean, yeah, I don't know if Asim is gettable now, because other teams might be considering changes. Asim might be nicked from London at some point or another, and maybe OpTic should be the one to do that deal before anyone else gets to do that deal. Definitely tweet your thoughts on that in the comments below. But then if Pred comes available in like a stage time, then what do you do with Asim that you've just signed? I don't know, it depends. Big question. But yeah, I think we've heard about OpTic Asim as being a candidate for a couple of years. I don't know if OpTic themselves have ever really considered him, but I think that it's something that should at least be a consideration, because, I mean, Surge, you don't know if you're going to be able to get Pred until the end of the year, far from a guarantee, whereas you could probably do a deal with London. That's very arguable that they would do exactly that. So definitely tweet your thoughts on this stuff in the comment section below. And just wanted to finish out, we're looking at where that major ranked in terms of peak viewership in Call of Duty Esports history. It was, I believe, second all time. Now, I've said this a couple of times before, that the 2018 World Championship, these numbers are bogus because it was including both Twitch and MLG.TV, and the MLG.TV numbers were also including the Twitch numbers. So it was only about 200k here. The Twitch was like 170, and then the MLG.TV was a bit more, but it was actually including the Twitch numbers already, so they doubled that basically. So excluding that, this was second all time to the 2020 World Championship final. So hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.